The OnePlus 15 has been popping up everywhere lately, and depending on who you ask, it's either better than expected or absolute trash. Thankfully, we were able to experience both scenarios in this one video. So we're putting the OnePlus 15 camera to the ultimate test in these 6 categories to truly figure out if it's smash or trash. Starting with the main wide camera, which pretty much every other smartphone does pretty well in this category, this is no exception. The photos have great details, good dynamic range, and very natural colors in most lighting situations.
The greens and reds really stand out in pictures. It doesn't look overly processed or highlighted. The contrast in pictures is actually pretty strong. Even during daytime, some photos can look quite dull depending on the lighting situation. Overall, the main camera gets an 8.
So with the ultra-wide, supposedly a lot of people say that the colors on the main camera doesn't match the ultra-wide. So we're gonna test it out right now. So right now we're gonna test this out. There's a tree in front here, there's a building right here. So we're gonna see if the colors match. So I'm gonna take one photo on the ultra-wide, one photo on the main camera, not gonna move. So as far as how different they actually look kind of the same. Like the greens look pretty similar. It's just that on the ultra-wide, it looks a bit darker. But other than that, the photo's pretty good, the colors are pretty accurate, so I don't know what they're talking about.
The ultrawide performs pretty well in the daytime, and there's no obvious distortions on the side in photos. With bright outdoor settings, you can still make out details and shadows don't look crushed, so it's a plus if you're shooting towards the sky or shaded areas. Color-wise, the difference between the main camera and the ultrawide, as mentioned before, is not that huge. You get decent color consistency with good exposure balance when shadows and highlights are both present in the image. We did notice that the ultrawide has more shadows in the greens. Overall, it gets a 7.5.
So for the telephoto, I kind of want to compare this with a flagship. So I have the Samsung S25 Ultra here with me, which is known to be like the best right now in terms of zoom. So let's compare them. So consistently, I'm actually very surprised by the results, but the OnePlus looks better than the Samsung at 10x. I'm shook. Okay, right now there's a butterfly and I want to take this opportunity to take a close-up of it. Ooh, focus. Oh, I mean, it turned out pretty great. I was shooting it on 3.5x and the green is super vibrant and like saturated, and it's able to get the subject clearly, but the foreground's all bokeh'd. Pretty good.
For telephoto, we have 3 focal lenses, 85mm 3.5x, 170mm 7x, and 243mm 10x. And it looks great up until 30x. In good daylight, you're getting solid dynamic range. Highlights and shadows stay relatively balanced even in scenes with mixed lighting, but anything beyond the 20x zoom, and it starts relying quite heavily on the AI like any other phone. For human subjects, it doesn't look great. You start losing details. Faces look drawn on or flat. Buildings and signboards, on the other hand, look pretty great with the telephoto lens. It just tends to struggle when there's a lot of details in the back, but there's no extreme AI enhancement. We were able to snap a photo of the moon during the evening, and as you can see, you can make out the details of the moon, but the processing does make the moon look more like a painting. So I give this an 8.
So now we're going to move on to portraits. I have Sita here with me to be my model, and we're going to start with wide, medium, and tight portraits. So let's go. Looking back at the portrait photos, I can see that the separation looks really good. If you see these 3 photos side by side, you can see that it's able to separate the hair texture, particularly for mine. My hair is quite textured, so it's able to separate individual strands, which I honestly never get usually with other phones. The colors look really natural, very true to life. Kind of reminds me of iPhone, which is pretty sick.
You can continuously zoom all the way from 1x to 3.5x in the portrait mode, and you get all these different kinds of compressions. In good lighting, portrait shots look quite pleasing. Skin tones tend to be quite natural. The bokeh feels soft and realistic. Overall rating is a solid 8.5 for portrait mode.
So if you like that artsy aesthetic look, they also have these 3 filters that you can try out: misty, glowing, and dreamy. And here's how they look like.
Glowing lightens and smoothens the skin tone of the subject. With Sita, it completely whitewashed her complexion and gave her a bit of a lipstick. It didn't look natural because her skin looked as though it was airbrushed. Dreamy required a backlit subject, and it gives a, you guessed it, dreamy effect. That soft, ethereal glow, low-key, Sita looks like she's about to enter heaven or something. And with Misty, I honestly can't see much of a difference with Dreamy. It has that similar soft focus hazy look, but from what I can tell, it maintains Sita's natural skin complexion. But we didn't really like how the filters looked because we preferred to stick to something clean and unprocessed, so we just turned it off in the end.
You've seen all the photos, so now let's talk about what's bad.
Now, low light is where the OnePlus 15 really struggles. If you take a look at some of these photos of the night sky, you may think that they look great because that's with YouTube's compression, but there's actually some noticeable noise when you zoom in. The highlights look blown out. See those streetlights and hanging lights? They look like glaring white blobs. And watch how some parts of the frame look properly brightened while others remain way too dark. You can barely make out the details, as if the night mode just didn't activate there. But occasionally, some photos actually come out vibrant and usable even in low light. So this camera is super inconsistent with low light. This low light performance was not up to expectations at all. So we're giving it a 6 out of 10.
So right now we're gonna test the video performance. I have Wei Xiang standing over there as my subject. We're gonna roll, starting with 0.6, going up to 1, 2, 3.5, and then 7, going all the way out to 0.7 again. Looking back at the video, I'm noticing that with every lens change, there's like a bit of a weird stutter or flicker, like that lens autofocus. I think that's what Wei Xiang was saying. And also the white balance changed as I zoomed in closer to Wei Xiang's face. And somehow, Wei Xiang's skin looks paler as I'm zooming in, which is really weird. Okay, so this is a selfie camera / mic test. What do you guys think? I look horrendous right now.
It was quite a surprise. The look and feel of the video, despite boasting 8K 30 FPS, doesn't feel sharp or crisp. The colors though, don't look artificially oversaturated. I think the phone nails the skin tones and texture. They're keeping it true to life. There's barely any smoothing or beautifying effect. For buildings, you can see the edges of a window. For trees and plants, you can see individual leaves and the patterns of a tree bark. But again, the video feels somewhat soft. The sky does tend to look blown out and anything in the shadows loses its detail a bit. And another thing I thought I should mention, the lens change is very obvious. There's a weird stutter when switching between different lenses. I thought it'd be more seamless than that. The stabilization on the OnePlus 15, however, is great. Even with a lot of movement, say for instance riding a buggy, the footage looks pretty smooth. Could be a pretty useful vlogging camera while traveling. Autofocus is quite good too. It's able to clearly lock onto a subject even from far away. Overall, I give it a 6.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that down there. And I'll see you guys in the next one.